Hello and welcome. I'm Nathan Newbrough, the CEO of the Colorado Springs Philharmonic, joined by our music director, Josep Caballé-Domenech.
Hello.
And we are here today at the G.E. Johnson Construction Company, one of the great sponsors of the Philharmonic and our work, and the vision behind the Free for Kids project, which has introduced this great music to so many young families. We're grateful to G.E. Johnson Construction, happy to have their hospitality today. Let's talk about Gershwin, Rhapsody in Blue.
Not only American in Paris.
And American in Paris.
Both pieces,
right.
yeah. Gershwin, you know what a personality, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, someone who goes to Paris and wants to learn something when he's making 1,000 more money than his teachers, you know. When he goes to Ravel, say, yeah, can I learn something from you? And Ravel asks him, yeah, how much are you earning? You don't need to learn, so just do what you're doing, you know. You're doing much better than me. So I think it's a huge personality, and obviously these both pieces, they're only 2 years apart one from the other. Mm-hmm. They are so different in a way, but on the other hand, they are so, so intimate with the character of the American music and what that jazz represents into classical music. So I think it's really a genius.
Right. When I think of Gershwin, I think of the just absolutely riveting these rhythms that are used on stage. I think that's the first thing I think when I think of the Gershwin sound and what he gave to American music.
Yeah, I think diversity. I mean, he brought to the classical music diversity from another kind of music that was considered not classical or not popular or not whatever, and he put that into classical music. And I think from that point on, many other composers used this route, and I think that's great.
Mm-hmm. So when Gershwin visited Paris and got his inspiration for An American in Paris, talk to us about this connection that he made with Ravel.
Yeah, I mean, he wanted to study with Ravel because Ravel was the most famous composer in Paris. So he sent him a letter like saying, I would like to come a couple of years to Paris to study with you and get acquainted of what's happening now, And yeah, apparently Ravel said that, it's like how much money are you making a year, And obviously he was an established composer here in the States, and Ravel said, you don't need to come to learn anything, just do what you're doing,
Yeah.
But I think it's great that he did that. I mean, obviously, in the 20s, Paris must has been like a fantastic place to be. I mean, all the composers were there. All what's possible was happening in Paris. I can imagine that it's like New York for 10 years or something like that. I mean, like a center where everyone goes there to see what's going on, or Berlin or London. These kind of big cities where everything confluenced there. And I think it's to be very, very interesting that the Gershwin was contacting Ravel. Ravel was a very good friend of Granados, was a very good friend of the Falla. Mm-hmm. So all these kind of synergies where they were happening, and I'm sure that they were talking, having dinners and having coffees and and whiskeys at late in the night, just discussing how music should go, or how you do this opera, how you do this other thing. And I think that's what, as an artist, it's very interesting. So.
Yeah, and of course, Rhapsody in Blue, perhaps the most famous American piece of music, and Gershwin's magnum opus, right?
Yeah.
This fantastic work for orchestra and piano. Talk to us about what it requires of the piece.
Actually, for big band and piano first, and then for orchestra and piano. It's interesting because actually the commission came very late, and he didn't have much time, so he accepted to do it. But then actually it was Godfrey who instrumentated the whole thing, and they did this instrumentation for 23 musicians, so big band, which is probably the most famous one and the most interesting one. But then afterwards they did for a full orchestra, and it's very interesting when you do his piano concerto in F, and then you do this piece, how different they are, but how similar they are from the roots that you say, that's something else than classical music. It has a richness that brings to the audience some kind of freshness that you discover really right away. It's interesting, actually, the very beginning. I mean, it's very famous. The glissando in the clarinet, the very first bar. He didn't write that.
He didn't.
He did not. That was a joke that the clarinetist did. in the first rehearsal, or one of the first rehearsals, they were making fun of the piece, or fun of him, or just playing with it. And suddenly the clarinet player just did this fantastic glissando, and probably he listened to it and said, "Hey, that's great, keep it," And it has been probably one of the most famous openings of every single piece in the music history, So.
That's an amazing story. Now, I have to imagine working with an orchestra that plays mostly romantic repertoire, or mostly classical repertoire, has a manner of playing, and they have to break out of that to play Gershwin and to play some of these jazz-infused works. What do you do as a conductor, and what do you tell them?
I think basically what you try to get the swing into the orchestra. So you try to, in normal classical music, there's hard beats and not so hard beats. Usually in jazz, these hard beats go on a different beat or after the beat. So what you try to do with the orchestra is really to change this way of thinking, to say, okay, one is not the hardest one, it's after one, which is the hardest one, and the rest should sound a little bit more easy, or should sound a little bit more leggero, should sound a little bit more like that. So just bringing this kind of importance of the accents and non-importance of the rest. Basically, that's what jazz for classical music means.
Right, because as everyone knows who's played swing music or danced to swing music, it's something you feel.
Yeah,
it's something you feel.
Just feeling, and then suddenly, when it works, you see that the orchestra starts dancing a little bit more,
Right.
And then you see the whole orchestra playing and dancing, and it's like, okay, I got it.
That's when you know.
Yeah.
That's when you know. Well, we hope that you can join us for some of the upcoming Gershwin performances. I'm Nathan Newbro. This is Josep Caballé-Domenech. Thank you for joining us, and you can find out more about the Colorado Springs Philharmonic on Facebook, Twitter, and lots of other places. Thanks so much, Joseph.
Thank you.